Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We are missing 2 people tonight. Is that right?
That is correct.
So, and we have 2 alternates. So do we want some motions?
I'll make a motion that we seat Liz Faria and Brian West.
Second.
That's okay.
She's in a butter to this.
That's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
She can just abstain on that one, right?
Okay.
You didn't have to.
So for starters tonight, we have a public hearing. Are you ready? Sorry, are you ready? Okay. For Northam Survey LLC representing Brian Martin to submit an application for a 2-lot frontage subdivision at 227 South Road. And we have some more notes here, but I'll go ahead and turn it over to you to get us started.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have a butters on this side of the? Do you want to maybe push that back a little, and maybe they can sit up here so they can see?
Sure. Only thing I'm worried about is how far back? Oh, you want over here?
Yeah, we have. Do you have extra copies? All right, we're gonna get extra copies. Sorry. That's fine. We've got some printed copies too. Sorry. Well, I don't think we have all the.
Correct. Good evening. My name is Eric Salovich, licensed land surveyor at Northam Survey. Here with me tonight is Brian and Mary Martin, owners of 227 Brentwood, also known as tax map 223 lot 30. We're here tonight to propose a 2-lot frontage subdivision. First, I'll review the existing conditions survey, just to give a base of the mapping and what we did out there. So the lot exists as a 37-acre parcel with 1,034 feet of frontage along South Road. The parcel is zoned agriculture with the minimum dimension requirements listed under Note 5 on the survey. The parcel is not in a flood zone per FEMA firm map dated May 17, 2005. An on-the-ground field survey was completed by our office in May of 2024. Jurisdictional wetlands were delineated by Mark West, certified wetland scientist, on April 19th, 2024. His certification note is number 13. The wetland delineation was limited to the developable portion of the lot. You can see that dashed line more clear on the existing conditions survey, but you can see it on the subdivision. There's a leader to that. Soil information shown here on is per the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources Conservation with a data set dated 2020. A site-specific soil survey was not completed in part of this project, and we'll circle back to that a little later on in the presentation. Topographic information shown is based on North American Vertical Data 1988 for static GPS observations with a contour interval of 2 feet. That was also limited to the not full 37-acre parcel. You can see that delineation line is well outside the proposed development area. Where was I? Test pits were dug by Joe Nichols with Nichols Environmental out of Fremont on July 31st, 2024. A copy of that report has been submitted in part of this application. You guys should have a copy of that. If you don't, I have one. I can distribute it. And moving on to the proposed subdivision plan, unless there's some questions about the existing conditions portion aspect. Usually there's not. That's kind of the boring part of the presentation. But as mentioned, we're proposing 2 new lots, one being remaining land with the existing home and no proposed development. This lot is to be 33 acres in size with 760 feet of frontage after the development. The new lot, proposed lot A, into the southeast corner of a parcel, 0.78 acres in size with 273 feet of frontage along South Road. The subdivision plan depicts the new lot lines. The subdivision plan depicts the new lot lines, proposed monuments to be set, delineated wetlands with a 60-foot wetland setback, and the board tonight received the revised plans that showed the 75-foot septic setback as well. You can see the proposed 4K area centrally located on the lot. That does have a passing test pit number 2 in it. Both those test pits passed. Joe was out there. He didn't have our data file, so both test pits don't fit in the 4K area, but they are 2 passing within 50 feet. There's no issues with the soils out there, and if anything, the 4K area is higher uphill. He's going to get a passing test pit up there as well. The wetlands do have a 60-foot structural setback, as previously mentioned. That setback was determined by Mark West, the wetland scientist, per the ordinance here in Brentwood. We do show the proposed well in the rear portion of the lot with the state 75-foot protected well radius being fully on that lot, so we don't have any issues with overlapping well radiuses here. I already talked about the 4K area. Backwards. We show an ample-sized proposed home, again, centrally located on the lot. There is no plans for development at this time, so these aren't final home plans. We typically just show a 60 by 40-foot home, which is plenty big enough, usually bigger than what most people build, just to show that it fits with ample size to the side yard setbacks. There is one waiver we submitted alongside with this application related to the high-intensity soil mapping. I submitted a letter that was involved with the application that goes over the waiver criteria and the supporting reasons. I can read that letter now and go over the supporting evidence if the board would like. I'm not sure if the board's read that yet or not, or how you guys want to approach the waiver. I can pause and address that.
What's that?
That letter.
Yes, no, I see it. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, this is without going into the nitty-gritty of the letter, this is a common waiver for us. High-intensity soil surveys, they cost a lot of money. Wetland scientists, there's not a lot of wetland scientists, not that this is a budgetary thing, more or less scheduling and getting a wetland scientist out there. And I've found from my professional experience that the publicly available soil service data that you get now through UNH Granite is very comparable. With this lot being ample in size, it's almost 1.5 times the size of the minimum allowed area. With passing test pits and good soils, we felt that a waiver was warranted here. I can go through the specific requirements in the letter if you like, but we also understand some of the challenges with the proposed lot. Moving on from the HIS waiver, the entire frontage of the almost 4-acre parcel here is jurisdictional wetlands along the frontage of South Road. So we will need a conditional use permit to construct a driveway through those wetlands. As you can see, the proposed driveway it's roughly about 150 feet through the wetland area there. And that comes out to be around 1,550 square feet of impact to that wetland area. So we will be submitting a New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services permit. This is a minimum expedited permit because it's under 3,000 square feet of impact. So that's a 30-day permit with the state. That will be going in front of the Conservation Commission next week on October 9th to get their recommendation and their approval. We would ask that the conditional use permit be a condition of approval in part of this application. The timing with the meetings, typically we would like to do Conservation Commission first to get their recommendation, but how things fell in with the application, we're here tonight, and we'll have to hit that one after. So from my standpoint, this is a relatively modest subdivision plan and creating an oversized lot. It has ample frontage. We're minimum requirements 200, we're at 270. Minimum acreage is 2 acres, we're almost at 4. I work on so many plans now where we're crushing in as many lots as we can. And it's kind of nice and refreshing to work on one where we're developing one new lot, we're keeping the characteristics of the road. So that's kind of my thought, and I'll turn it over for any questions from the board.
far is the driveway from the lot to the east?
It's over 20 feet. The driveway entrance comes in probably 30, 40 feet from that front lot corner. It does veer a little bit towards the lot, but we're staying 20 feet away. Where it does break that 20-foot barrier, almost where the 4K area hits, we actually have room to slide that driveway to the left. I believe the minimum distance is 10 feet from the sideline. We are further than that.
Yep.
So, sorry, are you talking about the driveway that's the path?
The proposed.
No, I know, but the driveway that's proposed is right next to the town land, right?
Correct, yep, there's a 50-foot conservation strip that goes out to some, I'm guessing hiking trails. I walked those actually earlier today when I was out walking the lot. There is a gravel area that is extremely close to the lot line. It seems to be constructed inside the jurisdictional wetland. I'm sure the town looked at that when they were doing their conservation stuff. But yeah, that hiking trail comes in on this 50-foot strip. That's on the abutting lot. The boundary lines are relatively clear in that area. If you were to do a site walk, there is some stone bounds that are called for on the plan, and those are up and visible and flagged, so everyone's aware of where the boundary line is there.
Mr. Greenwood, were your comments addressed sufficiently?
Some of them were.
That's what I thought. Could we go through Mr. Greenwood's comments one by one and make sure we address them? And also, did you get the comments from TEC?
I did not.
You did not. So I don't think we're going to come to a decision this evening, but I will definitely give those to you for.
Yeah,
next-
I'm looking at my correspondence folder right now, and I don't believe I received.
I don't believe I sent them to you.
Yeah,
I did, and that would be why.
yeah, I would have loved to have comments prior to the meeting.
Yeah, no, 100%, I get, yeah, 100%. We probably won't come to a decision this evening. You still have to go through conservation and so on, so I'll give you those comments at the end of the evening.
Sure. do you
And
have a
for the
comment?
next, yeah, I certainly do, yes. If you want to just grab a packet right there off the end of the table. But I'd like to go through Mr. Greenwood's comments, which I'm sure you did. I know you got those, just not the TEC ones.
Yeah, I don't have Mr. Greenwood's comments in my correspondence folder either. So I'm not sure when those were, when were those emailed over to me?
I think you did that personally, Mr.
September
Greenwood.
18th.
Yeah.
Can you confirm that you sent them my email address? It doesn't matter, I got them now.
I sent them, and then we talked that afternoon.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I believe you, I do not remember the conversation.
Maybe I didn't talk to you.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you talked to someone from my office maybe, and that message didn't get to me, but,
Because I did go over them that afternoon. So if it wasn't with you, it had to have been someone in your office.
I believe we were together when that happened. Yeah.
okay, so as we work through these, the wetlands ordinance requires 70-foot buffer setback. We addressed that, that's on the revised plans.
It is?
Conditional use permit.
It's not, yeah, I had a question about that. So the copy that we have says 60-foot wetlands
That's a-
setback.
that's
Is
a
that,
structural.
And then, right, that's structural, then
Okay.
there's one that says 75-foot septic setback. It's above the house,
yeah,
and that goes and hugs
okay,
beyond the 60-foot wetland setback, and the 4K area hugs the edge of it,
okay.
which is completely appropriate.
So we
Moving
do
on to
have the
number
latest.
two.
This is the latest.
This is-
The drawing that we have.
Yes,
is the-
the
okay,
the drawing you received tonight has that 75-foot structure.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's on there.
It does indeed.
A conditional use
On
permit
this?
granted by the planning board, we're aware of that. We knew we'd have to come back for the conditional use permit after conscom recommendation, there's no issues there. The state NHDES permit, no issues there, we're aware of that, that's in the works. The proposed building location requires a 40 by 80 square, not a 40 by 60. There's ample room on this plan to bump that out 20 more feet, so I don't see an issue there. The proposed 4K area is only 3,600 square feet. Both test pits are required to be in the 4K area. So we will have to get Joe Nichols back out there to dig another test pit. I don't see an issue with that. This 4K area is 4,000 square feet per math. I don't know where the measurement came from
Well, it came from the other plan,
when it was a block.
when it was a block, yeah.
Okay, that should be scaling. to
And
4,000.
it looks, my recollection is it didn't have the little peak on it before,
Okay,
on the northern side. So that might have gotten the extra 200.
sure.
It certainly isn't something difficult for you to get to.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, that's just isolate and give me the interior area, so that's not an issue there. And you know, a standard septic system for a house doesn't take up 4,000.
Oh, God, no.
But yeah, that's an easy requirement to check. The wetlands delineation stamp, that's not a problem. Mark West did stamp, I believe, the original plan when we revised the plan and sent it out. I didn't put a stamp on this. Final Mylars and recordable plans will be stamped. Subdivision approval by NHDES, we're aware of that. Joe Nichols will submit that as a condition of approval. Putting the planning board endorsement block, that'll be on the final plans. The impact fee endorsement block, that'll be on final plans. And electronic version of the final plans will also be submitted to the planning board. So I don't see anything on here that's a deal breaker for the plan. We can work through that. My apologies for spacing on that phone call. I didn't make notes apparently.
Because it was a good 10 minutes long.
Yeah, you know what? And something must have stuck in my mind because you were probably the one who told me about the 75-foot buffer.
It was that,
Yeah, so
when
that's
we
coming
started the
back.
conversation, it was like, I have a lot of things that are sort of administrative, but this one is one that really isn't administrative.
Yeah, and that change was made. So I appreciate the
Good,
reminder.
good.
It's coming back to me now.
So did you say you have to go back out for another test pit?
We're gonna have to dig another test pit if both pits are required to be in the 4K area. That's correct.
Could I also get Mr. Greenwood's opinion on the waiver request?
Oh, I think it's completely appropriate.
It is appropriate, even given the amount of wetlands on the site.
Yep.
Fair, sir, fair.
Yep, because remember, that requirement was when we were using the soils to determine the lot size.
Okay, all right.
And now that the town decided to not use soil type lot size, they have ample soil here, it's upland, that it's not even an issue. So,
Yeah, and
Thank you.
we're filing that waiver, 90% of our subdivision plans now. A lot of municipality ordinances they did a lot of HIS mapping back then. There's a lot more available data now. That's publicly available data. Projects move a little quicker. So,
And then do you have the TEC in front of you?
He does right there.
yep. So the limit of grading, that'll be discussed on it'll be shown on a separate plan. We'll produce a driveway plan for the crossing that will facilitate the state permitting. I don't know if anyone's driven by the site or seen the site. There is a slight dip down to the road, and then as you cross the wetland, there's a slight dip up. There's not a ton of earthwork that needs to be done to get a driveway across. Anyone that's hiked those conservation trails see that they brought that parking area up maybe a foot or two. Brian wouldn't have any issues getting a driveway in there, so we can show some grading on that. Delineate the limit of tree and vegetation clearing. Okay, that's easy enough. Again, that'll be something that's shown on the driveway plan, because it's facilitating construction. Spot grades and contours for the proposed driveway. I think that goes under bullet number 1 for grading. Approval of a waiver request from the subdivision. Articles 21.4, is that HIS mapping?
it is.
Yeah, so that's easy, we've discussed that. And the HIS map is not being provided, please demonstrate the requirements within Article 821 subdivision regulations are met. And I believe that is also gonna fall under the waiver with the HIS mapping stuff. So besides the preparation of a driveway permit plan, which would go in with our state permit and also be in front of the planning board to show how we're gonna construct this and we're gonna minimize impacts to the wetlands, I don't see many crazy things related to the subdivision plan.
Not at all.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just me, because I'm new to the planning board, but it looks like there's 3 separate lots. There's only 2, right?
Yeah,
The
so this-
existing and then the new one that he's proposing by the,
Correct. So
like, this is all existing.
that's all existing. This line here
Uh-huh.
just delineates the edge of the topographic survey.
Oh, okay.
So this shows the grade of the land, everything east of that thick dashed line. Everything to the west, we're so far removed from the.
So you
proposed-
don't have to deal with any of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't
Gotcha.
show the grading out on
No,
that
that's
side
fine,
of the lot.
that's fine, it just looked like 3 instead of 2.
I was telling Brian to do.
It's because I'm a newbie.
Other questions from the board?
I just have a question too. Have we invoked jurisdiction on this as of yet?
No, you have not. Somebody might
Wanna
want to.
Make a motion. Was that a motion?
It can be. I was just wondering. I wasn't.
Second.
I didn't know if I.
I second your motion, Ned.
Any discussion on invoking jurisdiction?
Say what? I didn't hear you.
Any discussion?
Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you're you're recused,
Yep.
recusing yourself from the hearing
Who's-
altogether.
Me.
Liz
Liz.
Recused.
Is she appointed to sit on the board?
Yes.
So there was 2 motions
One motion.
for Brian and,
They're
lumped
combined.
together.
They were
you combined that in one
combined.
motion?
Yeah.
Okay, fair,
But,
fair,
but
fair.
she recused herself
Yeah,
for
yeah.
this.
Recusing herself or abstaining?
No, whatever you need for,
If you
I'm
would-
recusing myself from this.
Recusing would be best, and then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for this
Don't vote on
particular
any of
thing.
the pieces.
That's why I'm confused about the motions.
Abutters, any questions from you guys?
You have to come up.
Sir, could you come to the microphone so your comments can be recorded? Thank you.
He's doing my job. I like him already.
What's that?
You see,
You like them already?
I like him already. He's making him sign the thing before I even had to say it.
I think
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
You want my name, Bill Faria?
I
Yep.
do.
I'm
Gotta
a
have
butter
it.
on South Road,
Where do you live, Mr. Vern?
209,
I can, it's
209
right
South
here.
Road.
It's right here.
Sorry.
So, do you need,
Bill,
Use,
I've,
you have to use the microphone, sir. Thank you.
You've already tested for septic, and the system there would have no impact on the surrounding wetlands and the
Right after,
surrounding
right after the line.
properties. So I said, I thought you.
sorry, we didn't catch that.
Yeah, just for the board and the record, the question was regarding the placement of the septic. If we had test pits and if it was far enough away from the wetland resource to be protected, which it is 75 feet. We'll have to dig one more hole, but the soils will pass.
Thank you. Any other questions? So you have an idea, a list of things
Yep,
to follow up on, and you said you're going to Conservation Commission next week?
it's planned for October 9th. Correct.
So that's next Thursday? Is that next Thursday?
I believe.
Oh, next Wednesday?
Yep, as of right now. So I guess my next action would be to ask for a continuance so that we stay on the agenda for next month. Are you guys meeting on November 5th?
Well, no,
But we're meeting in the middle of October.
November
seventh.
7th.
We're on the 7th, so
Okay. Oh, so you're missing.
we missed the election.
Yeah, if we can meet later on in October.
We're meeting the 16th.
Seventh.
17th, okay.
Yeah, let's tentatively plan for the
17th.
17th. I'll need to get in touch with Joe Nichols, because the big thing here now.
It's getting him out there.
Is gonna be the test pit. So as long as he can get out there before the 17th, then we're good to press on.
If it doesn't, just call us and you don't have to come in. We would continue from the 17th to the next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
I'll make a motion that we continue this hearing to the 17th.
All right.
Who was the second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I had one other question, Kristen, before you move on. Glenn, I don't think I've ever seen the questions you had on this. Can you?
They're
forward
in
us
your,
them?
they're in your packet.
First page,
Under-
second page.
Second page?
Yep.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
Glenn.
That's
Glenn,
Glenn.
there's Glenn.
This is Glenn.
There's no name on it.
Oh, maybe that's why I didn't realize it was Glenn.
Sorry.
Okay. And he did already address those, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we have board business on the agenda. Minutes from the 19th.
Second to last page.
Vice,
Did I misspell something?
Vice.
I was present at that meeting. I know, but I'm not present, so I don't know how we did that.
How could you have gone for second? You're tricky. She's not listed as being at the meeting, but then she made a motion at the very beginning of the minutes. So
It
we
happens,
need to-
it happens.
It's her,
we
you know,
need to add her
it's
just-
her
I'm not
superpower.
It's just informational. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
So we're adding Letty to the list of people present. Any other changes? Questions, issues? Anybody want to make a motion?
The edits.
Could you speak into the speaker? I don't hear you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the edits that were just discussed.
I'm sorry.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain, I wasn't here.
I leaned into the microphone, so Brian was gonna jump on me. Well, I
Um,
was goofing up, right?
I have an update on the HOP grant. So this is the next phase of the Housing Opportunity Grant. So with the last one, we did the land use audit and the survey and some public participation, identified some things that we want to work on, which we've had talked about before too, like multifamily zone. I submitted our application on Monday. It's for about $60,000. We would get help from a consultant who has a lot of experience in this area. I talked to a couple times. They changed it this time too so that the town gets a small percentage back. I think it's 5%, so we get a little money back for our troubles, for our administration. And I put 3 names down. I think it was you, Mark, and Doug Finnan to go to, or no, Bruce, to go to the Housing Academy.
Yeah, that's correct.
So I believe they said 60 days for a decision, but hopefully, you know, we tried to make the case. How? No, 60 days for the decision on the grant overall, if we get the grant, yeah.
And I did talk to my colleague at Panther Housing, and she said that our application is good, so we should be in good shape.
Hopefully we made the case that we're, you know, they wanted to know if, one of the areas that you get graded on is readiness. So, you know, the fact that we've done some work and shown some commitment to this, we're pretty specific about what we want to do, what we want to accomplish with the grant. So I'll keep you posted if I hear anything, if they come back with any questions, but.
Thanks, Kristen.
Yeah, and thanks, Doug and Glenn both reviewed it, and Mark took all my calls when I was scrambling at the post a deadline to get everything together. Thank you, guys. Any questions on that? All right. Oh, and I did put in there, we talked a little bit in our housing chapter with the goals about maybe doing for community engagement, doing some presentations with different groups around town. So I included that as a possibility. Nothing's, you know, in stone, but that was a possibility. And then some kind of community forum where we try to get more people involved. We can have a poster session with ideas and things. And I'm trying to figure out like how we can pair it with something else, like a chili cook-off or something with the schools or something that like, not just sit in here and have people come and look at a PowerPoint, but like, how can we get more people to come out? Kind of like the charrette, you know, there was a good number of people. So let that simmer.
Anyone doing a barn raising anywhere? And then
No.
we could talk about expanding our ADU to go into detached structures, like the new barn.
Like the new barn. Don't know of any. But
Hmm.
we could do a service project.
You do it.
All right, budgets. So we have, thank you, Mark, for putting together
That's at the very end, right? Yeah.
at the very end of the packet, yeah. So no major changes, some adjustments under salary and retirement. Dropping the legal back down, I guess, because we didn't spend, we haven't needed it in the last year. And then RPC dues went up a little bit.
I had a question about that, actually.
Yeah.
It says that the dues are based on the town's population, so the rate is what went up, not the population, correct? Or did the population?
I questioned that myself, and Glenn and I had a conversation about that, because last year it only went up $100, but I think it went up 400 and something.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me either, because I don't think our population really has increased that significantly. So I would say that the rate
It's just a phone call to them to figure.
Yeah.
To find out. Yes.
The select board actually got a letter.
I think you read to the board.
I did. I had it at the last meeting.
And it said-
I scanned it, and it's in my budget folder on my computer.
But I think, first of all, the census isn't really counted. Like, we don't have an exact number of people every year. They're estimating it every, in the in-between years. So if the whole region is estimated to have gone up, they're just gonna partition that out and give Brentwood 100 people out of the however many people in the area that they're estimating from. So it's possible that could be part of it. But if they're applying the same estimates, like if they're using the American Community Survey, then they're doing that consistently from town to town. So
It's just a guess either way.
it's in the letter.
There's a whole nother tier that comes in at 10,000 people population.
We don't need
Right.
to know about that.
It doesn't-
Don't
doesn't
confuse
make
me. Don't confuse me.
I know, that's too much. TMI.
The good news is that we're using it more. So
Yeah.
we've had our commissioners going to the meetings, and getting more out of our membership, I think.
I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
It shouldn't. I
No.
think it's just a formula.
No, it honestly doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they use a ratio based upon population. I would assume that they do look at each of the annual updates for the American Community Survey in
Yeah.
between the decennials, so.
Yeah.
It's pretty rote.
But the rate might have went up a fair amount too for everybody. That would be.
If their costs, if their budget went up.
I mean, when they increase the rate, they don't do it by much, because they get a lot of backlash.
Sure, right.
I had another question.
Yep.
I see that the printing line didn't go up. Do you feel confident, given the printing requests we've made to happen every year, that funding is sufficient?
The only thing that really comes out of that printing line is when I want books printed. And we did spend $500 on those books, but I have a bunch of extra ones. And if Glenn has any other material that he suggests,
But that's not every year. You're not going to print all of that
that's
every
what
year.
right. I mean, I have a good bumper, extra crop of those books for future members. And if anybody wants one, of the planning board one, and the ZBA one. And I did that purposely, so I have them on hand, that when new members come in, I can just hand you one, instead of having to order them. Those things get dropped along the way. So it's nice to have those materials in hand to hand to somebody. So that, I think that was an extraordinary expense, you know, and one that only comes around maybe every 10 years.
What about the RSA books?
That's something I print in-house.
No, the
Bound.
I don't have one.
Yeah, I ordered them already, and I ordered 14 of them, I think. You get 2 free, but that is also material that I want to give new members and have that on hand to give you. So you have the information in hand that you need, and that's the newest copy, the white copy.
How often do you think you're gonna need to order new ones of those various things?
I don't see that happening unless we have an influx of people. Sometimes when people leave, they leave their materials.
So you're good.
behind.
You're good.
I'm good for a while.
Okay.
That's where I'm going.
I was remembering that you had said the $500, which is why the 200. I just wanted to make sure that you're good.
Did the books come in yet? The RSA books?
No, we just ordered them.
Okay. Because I have the purple one, or the burgundy one.
Yes.
I would like the new one.
You will update it.
Old.
So that'll be like 3 books, the handbook, this white one, and the new one?
Yes.
No, the 3-ring one I print in-house. And I'll punch them and make them up as I need.
No, but she's asking
Out
what
of
she
the
will
planning board
receive.
stuff,
She's
it's
asking
3
what she'll
different,
receive.
Yes.
this,
Yeah.
the handbook that I just got, and then whatever the new one is. And
Yeah,
that one
so-
gets updated, what, every year?
Yes.
All
So
of them.
in the future, like next year, we only need to get the updates, right?
The binder one is something that I just do on town paper and
No, I get, but I'm just talking about like the ones you just ordered. They'll be new now, but next year it'll only be updates, right? So we don't have to do a whole new book?
They only publish it as books.
Oh, you can't even get the updates by themselves? Oh, that's.
Yeah, I mean, NHMA always does an update of those RSAs that impact municipalities, and there's always a planning section in that update.
Okay,
And a lot of planning board members just download
With
that
those
from the
couple of things,
NHMA
yeah.
website every year because it's a really good synopsis of
okay.
what it means.
So, and that's usually like, how many pages? Like, is it only a couple?
About 6.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
that we could do that, Mark. Mark
Yeah,
could just do
it's
those
very
in-house.
simple.
Yep.
I mean,
Great.
I've been using ones that are at least 10 years old. It's not like the major, not now, but while I was a board member.
Yep, yeah.
10 years ago, I would just use ones that I had at hand.
Yep,
And they're perfectly fine.
you just add the updates, yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So I'm assuming on this proposed budget, this 57,864, the salary is Glenn, right?
That, I believe that's.
That's Mark.
That's Mark.
Gwen's the.
Oh, this is Mark.
Gwen's
yeah,
the circuit rider.
I'm
Oh, okay.
circuit rider.
Okay.
And then the circuit rider long range is for the master plan, and that's the one that we'd like to move into a funds, but I don't want to take this out until I'm sure that we're able to do that.
And what about, you know, for some of the educational piece you were talking about with the posters and, you know, I mean, should we put something in for that? You
It's
know?
in the, it's
That's
in the
in the grant.
grant,
Okay, great.
but if we don't get the grant, if we wanted to do something on our own, that would
Yeah, no,
take.
good point. Excellent, yeah.
Jinx.
Yeah, I know, but you don't, you
The only,
don't want to be overconfident.
the only sweeter talker to that group than you is Steve Whitman.
Okay.
So he
The,
can work it.
and I think I put money in the grant for supplies too, for a forum. So I think I put like $1,000 in there, so we can print stuff and we can have food and, you know, try to make it.
Awesome.
How much is the grant for?
It's a little over 60,000. What's that?
You'll never use
Oh, no,
Use it all.
They want you to use
Want to use every
They
penny.
want to know if,
do.
if you get partway into it and realize you're not, they want it back. They want you to know as soon, as soon as possible, because then they could give it
They
to
wanna
another
reallocate.
community. But yeah, the letter we got, the closeout letter for the last grant said we used all but $500. And I'm not sure what that was. The only thing I can think is that they, this time around, so if you go to the housing forum, school, whatever it's called, they have a $250 stipend. And I think when I went, they asked me if I wanted it, and I said no, because they said it would like go back, for the good of everybody. So, but apparently, I guess that's what happens, is that $500 that was there just goes back into the
So
kitty for this
who-
round.
who actually pays for the grant?
The,
Who's supportive of the whole process?
I believe it's from the governor's, for the state, because it's a program from the executive branch.
So,
But it's actually, it's
Yeah, let's get 'em
federal.
back. Get 'em back.
I have this written down
I thought it
somewhere.
came out of ARPA funds.
I can tell you, not right now, but I did you can trace it back, but it was federal money. So a lot of times what the federal government does is set up grants to states. So rather than administering the grants themselves, they give it out to states. So they gave money to
I
the
swear
state.
it was ARPA funds.
It could be
might
ARPA
have
that's
been.
distributed through the executive
That's
branch.
exactly, I
Yeah.
think that's exactly what it was.
That makes sense.
Right.
so if there's a change in the government as the president or Congress or all so on and so forth, is that going to affect
Nope,
this?
it's,
No.
this is all money that.
It's all
would be in
allocated.
A federal budget allocation that's already been approved.
Okay, so it's a done deal.
It is a done deal.
Okay.
Yes,
It's a part of a way
it is a done deal.
probably the federal government and the state government want to help fund newer housing.
Well, the point there that I'm getting at is, if Trump gets in, I don't want this to be a political thing, but his ideals in Biden and his subordinate have a totally different picture of what they want. So I'm saying, well, is this all gonna come to hogwash, or?
No, it's already done.
It's already
Yeah.
done deal.
Already allocated funds.
Okay.
So there just might not be a 3.0.
Right.
I got the sense that this was the end,
That's what
I think,
that's what.
because
I've
it's
heard.
been around for a couple of years already. So I think
Well,
this is,
Right, that amount of money, if you really think about that kind of money, you should be able to hire a professional and change the ordinances that you want to work on.
Yeah.
For that kind of money.
That's the goal.
that's
the
that's the goal.
That's the whole
And
goal.
it is enough money to do that,
It's the whole goal.
yes.
So I think there were 3 potential ordinance changes in there, and I wrote in, help with the writing of the ordinance itself and the warrant article and education and the whole package. So that's the idea, is that we would get help doing all of that.
How much did we get the first time with our grant?
40,000.
40, yeah.
So if we get this, we'll
This
in
is a
total
bigger
get
grant.
100,000.
I think
Yeah.
A lot of money.
This is important. I think we need to outline expectations for the person we are hiring. A very clear, written out expectations of what we expect in return.
For the consultant, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
There'll be a contract that has to be prepared.
Right, and I think we, you as a group, should sit down and really figure that out and make sure that those expectations are met.
And the grant app has a task, task list with little descriptions
Of
and
deliverables,
and
yeah.
deliverables. Yep.
I have another question back on the budget and the
Yeah.
salary. You have next to that mark C attached. What attachment are we seeing?
I have.
What?
I think so. It wasn't an email, but do you?
Is
have
it the
more-
whole budget? Is that what the attachment was?
No, it breaks down because there are changes
Here's a running joke between Mary and I forgot to put it in the packet, and I printed one out already, and then I printed out one more.
I didn't think anyone was gonna ask except for me. But I forgot that
You forgot I'm on the board now?
Yep.
No, I saw it there. I was kind of
If
wondering.
it's,
but I was like,
if it's a money thing, just always think at least Letty and Liz.
And
So probably
can I-
three if
sorry,
you
can I
can
borrow
that.
this?
What's the difference between these
point.
two retirement lines? Sorry.
So this was a piece of paperwork that Karen gave me, that she'd already figured out my salary and what I was contracted to already. And it came up to that, and this is a conversation of why it says possible overtime. Well, we can hand this around, you can take a quick look at it, but. So, in order for me to receive overtime, it needs to be budgeted.
that's not true.
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, in anywho's. That's what I was told, so I had to budget that in, and that's included in the salary line. Will I use it, or will I not use it? We don't know, but it needs to be put in there.
So that's assuming how much an hour?
Hmm?
25 or 26?
Yeah. And it changes partway during the year because they do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
25 or 26?
So the question I had is, why is it 9 and then 21 and 22 as opposed to 9 and 4 for the 13? Usually it's 13 and 39, but obviously you have two things that are affecting you. One being your probationary period being up, and then the other one being your annual whatever.
Can't hear you, sorry.
I
It's
can't hear
okay.
you either.
Oh, okay. I just want to double check these numbers, that's all. And it sounds like Karen would be the person to check them with.
Yes, yes.
Karen will be the one to check those numbers with. I believe it, because we do our budget by annual calendar date, meaning our budget runs up at the first of the year, where's the 9,000? And then the second number would carry us up to my probationary period. And then the other one, I believe, is a merit COLA, which would bring us back into the next calendar year. Not 100% sure, but that is something I have to check with Karen about.
A prorated merit.
Right,
How-
that's
I would
why
imagine.
he's
Because
got
of
it broken down by weeks.
Because of my hiring in a weird scheme
Yeah.
to fall into the COLA merit, and I have a probationary, and after the probationary, there is a contracted increase,
How long is the probationary period?
6 months.
6
I'm on my best behavior.
I don't want to put Mark
Yeah.
on the spot here with
I don't like
the details.
I don't like it, but it is public information, and I need to know that.
Yeah.
That everything that I do is in the scrutiny of the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I a little uncomfortable? Yes, but I know that that's the way that it is. So.
So after the 6 months, what would your wage be hourly?
It just got worse. Yeah.
No, because we're all, yeah, I mean, he's right, it is public information, but I think, here, you've got, yeah, all the details there. I
Oh,
don't
it
think
is?
we need
Okay.
to litigate them all. I want to make sure that we're keeping our eye on the overall picture here.
Yeah, and thanks for stepping. up,
Magnitude, magnitude
Mark. We
wise.
value you.
Letty, you want-
I'm trying to decide if you want me to say the number. It sounds like no, you don't want me to.
he's
say the
got,
number.
he's got the spreadsheet, and,
Okay.
I get $1 raise, sir.
and,
No.
so.
What I asked was, ultimately, if you're successful, what would your hourly wage be then?
It says
I
it's
make
on-
$25 an hour right now, and after 6 months, it'll be $1 raise.
Okay.
And then after that, I should get a COLA merit. And right now, I'm not making my merit because I'm talking really loud. But that'll be either 3% or 5% based upon
Okay.
merit, and be the 2% merit.
Yep.
I need to score more than a 4.5 to get the full 2%.
I don't know how you.
All right,
score.
so let's,
That's, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
I did want to talk about overtime a little bit, not specific to Mark, but just because I don't think I understood this last year, and I think Letty, you had brought this up, that, so if we have somebody here more than 40 hours in a week, it's not necessarily possible to kind of make that up, right? So if somebody's working 13 hours in a day and has more than 40 hours as of Thursday of that week, that means overtime. Anything over 40 is
Yes, that is
overtime.
federal law.
That is federal law. And
That's not,
we
that's
can't,
not me making that up.
we
That's-
But that
can't-
has not been, I don't, this is not specific to the planning board, but that has
Right.
not been what they've done in this
People
town
have-
office.
they've
They're
been-
taking times off instead of doing overtime. So if it's federal, maybe,
I think we should concentrate on what this
The
board
planning
has,
board, yeah.
has control over, and that would be myself, and I will
Yeah.
give my position on this, because we're going over my budget,
Yeah.
well, your budget that I am included in,
yeah,
and I'll make my thoughts very clear. If I am here more than 40 hours, I believe that I should be compensated with overtime.
100%.
I think
And
that's a
that's time
pretty
and a
simple
half, right?
thing.
time and a half.
Very.
Yeah.
So
Time and a half, right?
if I'm only, it is also my belief that during my business hours, I'm usually here 9 hours a day. My door's open to the public. If I am saying like, oh, you owe me 2 hours and now I'm coming in at 10 a.m. instead of my 8 a.m., then somebody from the public could be wanting services and I'm not here. And I think I need to have a set of hours that people can count on me as a public servant to get public services. And in 10 minutes, I would have been here 12 hours. So,
clock's ticking.
yeah, clock's ticking. Yes, so that's why I've included that overtime line. Will I use that? I don't know. But I think it should be my discretion, whether I.
Yep.
And that's in the,
And I think it's good, so I would propose instead of having that as part of your salary line, that there's actually an overtime line, so that we can keep track of that.
Well, it is an overtime line. That's what he had.
well, on this,
Okay.
on this, it's not broken out. Yeah.
That would be my suggestion, and if you don't want to take that suggestion now, I'll suggest it later.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would do what other departments in the town do.
They have a separate overtime, like
Okay,
fire
that's
and
fine.
police, I know, have a separate
Yeah.
overtime line. I'm not sure if there are any,
So,
I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what other departments do, but I know that police and fire at least have.
And I think, you know, Mark's right, the only,
I would like to make a motion. Is that what you want?
That's what this is.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion that we add an overtime line in the planning board budget so that we can track.
Go ahead. Yep.
yeah, question about that though is, what would you put in it since you don't know? He just got there.
He's
You know,
estimated
It's an
it.
estimate.
Yeah,
You know,
I would,
it's
I would put the
total
3,000 that
estimate.
he estimated, just so that we
Okay.
have some, I mean, we could, yeah.
And to your point, I mean, I think that's very, well said. I mean, where you want to be available.
Yeah.
You want, you're new in the position, you want to be available to the town people, and that's great.
Well, I need to be available for KIP.
yeah.
I need to be available for ZBA members. And people call all the time for public services.
Yeah.
And I need to have reliable hours where they can count on me to be there to do that.
And
function.
also when you're beginning in your job like you are, you're doing such a good job and doing a lot of time, just, setting up your own system. I'm sure it won't be that time.
Yeah, we're refining
So-
that. I'm still
Yeah.
figuring this out, where
Yep.
to my own
Yeah,
system.
this is not a reflection on you. My just, I would
Yeah,
like,
and I
maybe
think
Letty can bring it up with the select board
if-
to be,
if
make
people
it
have-
consistent.
An issue with the spending, then the only option, because we're so small, is that the office would have to be closed for, if you wanted to.
I mean, we need to
But-
talk about this as a
and-
group. It's your
And
budget.
Letty, I know what you're gonna say, it all comes out of the same place. But what we could do is put, because, some of the things you just mentioned are not planning board budget items. The zoning board has a wages line with a dollar.
Yeah, because his entire wage is in the planning board budget.
Right, I'm saying we could put some of it.
Do you want to split his wage into planning and zoning? Do you
I don't
really-
want to make him keep track of that, but.
So what is, what,
Other than.
what are you trying
the
to
meetings.
accomplish by doing that?
not have an 8% budget
Yeah,
increase.
Can we say planning and zoning fees? You know,
The amount of time,
salary.
You go to their meetings, so it's only.
the amount of time I spent, well, I do accept the applications. I have to do the same exact things that I do for you. I have to notice them in the paper. I have to write all the abutters notices. It's the same exact process as the planning board.
Yeah.
It's just a frequency of them.
Is that 10% of your time?
I haven't been here long enough to really judge that.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that. That's a big nightmare.
Yeah.
One budget for him is
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got the previews for all of the budgets, and 8% is fine compared to a lot of the other. It's a small budget,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, the dollar amount is not large, I know, relative to the.
oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. We had discussion. Any other discussion on adding an overtime line?
Well, I think we're kind of in agreement on, I think the overtime line is fine, but just going back to what you were saying about breaking up the salary, I just, in the interest of transparency, I think having it all in one line makes more sense. It looks,
Under the.
it looks a little bit sketchy if we're kind of like moving things around to try
Yeah.
to make the budget less.
Yeah, and I'm only half joking about that. I mean, I think the reality is, you know, that, and I'm learning more that, you know, it's not just, you know, planning, that you're doing stuff for the building office and zoning and.
Yeah,
Phone call.
yeah. You could also just put a percentage like zoning and planning board budget and salary approximately, I don't know what it is, 12% of this is zoning, and, you know, just make so you'd still be transparent, you know, it'd still be under mark, it'd still be under salary and overtime or whatever we're discussing, but it would give them an idea of what percentage, I don't know if it's 20 or 10 or whatever. I'm just saying you could make an approximation, approximately, you know, 15% of this is zoning, or approximately 20% of this is zoning, and the rest is planning board.
Maybe we could just have a footnote or.
Yeah, that's what I
Perfect.
meant, yeah.
I'm ready to move on.
Yeah,
Salary.
me too.
I'm just saying, no, you guys have more, I
No.
get it,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying.
So we still have to vote on the overtime.
Yeah,
So
but it looked like you were gonna say something.
Well, I just have a quick question because
Sure.
Mark is doing such a fantastic job, and I agree with him that, you know, we want to make sure that he's compensated for overtime, and I just want to make sure, is 3,000 enough of a cushion, or should we even go a little bit higher just to make sure that you're full, that, you know.
Yeah, I did the math on that. So usually with the 9 hours a day, and then I stay for, usually these meetings last to about 9 o'clock, and that's about 2 hours of overtime. You go 252. So yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, just, you know, given given how much work you do for the board, I just think it would be unfortunate if we ran out of funding and then all of a sudden we weren't being compensated for the work.
that's not how that works.
Oh, it's not? Yeah,
No.
Well, if that, setting aside the fact that there may be other monies that can be moved around, again, the only other option would be to say, okay, then, you know, the office is gonna be closed for
Right.
X amount of time so that he doesn't go over 40, but we don't expect that to happen if we're putting money in the budget for it.
Well, and we would see it coming. It's not like
We would
all of a
see it.
sudden surprise, like right
Yeah.
if
Like there's weeks, like holiday weeks and things. That every once in a while we cancel a meeting and don't,
You think?
sometimes we
Well,
go
so
4
about
hours.
that motion that I made,
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye.
I,
All right. Anything else in the budget? Okay. I don't have a warrant article. I will work on something. Maybe I can get some help on that. To start a fund for the master plan, but I'll bring that to another meeting.
you have time.
I have time.
How much are you looking for?
Well, the idea would be to take, so like this year we had $8,500 in there that we didn't spend. So, and I know
Because we got a grant.
because we got a grant.
Okay.
So, and I know this isn't is not the way it works, but that amount of money to, start out and then put that.
So
money-
that would go back, and then we'd have to do that again, get the $8,500.
We would have to do a warrant article every year, right, and ask for the money. But the message,
Except you're gonna get the grant again.
but the message would be that this isn't, it's not that we're spending more money. We just want to spend it in a different way.
It's kind of
So-
like how we do the reevaluation.
Yeah,
We know we need to update all of the chapters every however many years. and it's gonna
however
cost
many
this
years
much.
is it?
The recommendation of the Office of Planning is every 10 years.
So the things that go back to 1988, like I was reading in one of these,
Yeah.
I'm like, how did we let 35 years go by then?
Right,
Well,
so if we have a
some-
schedule where
Yeah.
every decade, we have enough money saved up that we can just do them all at once.
I
The plan?
just
Or-
have trouble when they say it's gonna be every 10 years. We haven't done it for 35. I
Well,
wouldn't
so
save any
some-
money for
No,
that.
There are
we've done-
some-
We've done tons of chapters in between.
Yeah, Okay.
And there are some chapters that you don't need to do every 10 years. The natural
Right.
resources chapter, really important chapter. Wetlands don't change. The
Oh,
amount
unless
of
you put a
surface,
driveway over
the amount of surface water in town doesn't change. There are things that don't change
Right,
in that
appreciably.
chapter. So there's the need to do that every 10 years.
how many chapters are in the master plan?
If you,
It's
9,
completely up to the town.
Oh,
There's
do we
only
know how
three-
many?
There's only 3 that the law requires. And then there are another 15 that are optional.
Okay,
Towns can pick and choose which ones they do.
we have how many?
9.
And they're useful when we're doing things like applying for grants to have a transportation chapter or a housing chapter and have the information available.
If you notice in the budget, there's an $8,500 line, and that's what that $8,500 is used for. That every year we do update chapters, just not all of them at all
But
at
the last
once.
couple of years, we've
We've
gotten money to do
The
it.
natural resources one, I tried to quote something from it in one of the water grants I applied for the town. And that was one of the comments, like, you're referencing a master plan chapter from 1988, like, that just doesn't.
Not that it's
ridiculous or
changed, but we just need to have a more recent
Yeah,
date
and I
on
was
it.
like, okay.
No, she's saying she
It's
didn't
hard
get
to tell if
kudos for that.
That's a priority to the town if it's from 1988. Well,
Ouch.
All you need to do is click on the website and click on master plan, and you'll start hearing the buzzing, faxing noises from dial-up, because that's how old that front cover is. It is really, really
Can't,
bad.
yeah. You
And that's
can't
all you need to
convert
know,
it to a
That it needs to
file.
be updated.
Okay. So I'll work on that. And then we need to have public hearings on housing, transportation, and vision chapters. These are not the most recent versions. I know people have submitted comments on these, so we're gonna work on getting the final versions of those. I'd like to get this done before the end of the year. It sounds like we have a lot on the 17th.
And it requires a public hearing.
It requires a public hearing. So when do we want to have a public hearing? In November? Is it a 14-day notice kind of a thing?
It'd be
10-day
12-day notice,
12
but
days?
I have to type all the notices. I haven't done any of that.
Well, first we need to get the chapters
Correct.
correct.
Sounds like the 17th is going to be a busy night. We'll have 2 applications.
So we
And
could
I think
do
there's might be some other stuff. I
November
would have to say
7th
after that.
or November 21st.
November 21st is gonna be before Thanksgiving. I bet you lose.
The week
And if you're
before.
looking-
That's a
The
whole
week
week before.
If you're looking for a public hearing where you want people to come out, people are gonna be thinking about everything that they have to get done before Thanksgiving. Even if it's a week before Thanksgiving.
So the 7th?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, so.
I mean, the other thing we could do, what about dividing and conquering this? I mean, having like subgroups, a
Well, we
subgroup works
should be-
on vision, a subgroup works
We
on
should be
housing.
done.
I don't know, just a.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
should
we
be,
should be.
Okay.
done. We
And-
just don't have the files.
and those people
Gotcha.
that have given comments, they're just not reflected on these. So there's a more recent one.
Like, I know you went through the transportation chapter a while ago, and I'm not sure that everything is in here.
So,
Yeah, they didn't address my comments whenever I provided them. the last, I think because there was turnover.
Yeah.
They might have got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So how much are these gonna change? Because I started reading these, if they're gonna change, I'm not gonna pay much attention
It's
to.
not, it's not
Yeah.
Not a lot, but there
Okay.
are some
My
updates.
comments
are
I would
minor.
say.
There-
Yeah,
But there were comments.
I would say
Okay.
the housing, though, is, the goals are different.
The goals are different.
Yeah,
So
we-
so if we're gonna,
I know, that's,
so if November, we'll have everything in like a week or two? If we're
Yes.
gonna, yeah?
yes.
You're gonna send us the whole, or whoever,
Yeah.
Mark is gonna
I
send us
will-
the whole things over
That
again?
should not be a problem.
Okay, we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah. because
Okay.
They have. them.
We
You know
have
they
to,
have them.
yeah.
And who wrote
Who is
these up?
they?
I was,
They're all in the planning
RPC.
commission.
okay.
Was that Jen?
Because I was really struck by the, I don't know which one it was, visioning, I guess. The whole thing about, get along with your neighbors or something. I'm like, it just seemed like a goal that, I don't know how you,
Well-
there was a whole thing on,
I mean, we've
can't even remember what it
talked
was,
about
but-
these and
You have
and
something
edited
against your
them
neighbors?
before.
no.
And it was,
It seemed like a thing that didn't have anything to do with the planning board, that's all.
I think it just
Ah.
kept coming up in the surveys, so that's why they highlighted that as something that was like a major
Concern,
focus
yeah.
Came up
on the
60
surveys.
times.
Yeah.
and this is not just supposed to be like planning board in terms of ordinances. This is supposed to be
It's
the
high- yeah,
vision,
it's a
high-level
higher
vision for the-
level
Yeah.
look.
Okay.
which
so-
guides the ordinances, but also other things.
For context, there are 3 chapters that are statutorily required, and number 1 is the vision chapter. The other one is, here we go, Glenn. The other one is the current land use and future land use.
You did that perfectly.
So if you think about that, if you don't know where you
Second
are,
and third are current
Where are you
and
gonna
future.
go?
our
land
current
use.
land use and future land use. How do you know where you're going if you don't know where you are? So. That's how important vision.
Okay, so we'll get those. CIP updates. Glenn, do you want to?
So the November 7th is the public hearing.
Yes. But we will get. the-
So I'm about to do a
Final
really bold ask of you people.
Uh-oh.
So,
We're not voting on
I want you to.
We haven't.
You haven't seen it, and I am happy. There aren't a lot of changes.
Okay.
That's the whole issue is, this is something that gets updated annually. So
Is this a CIP?
this is the CIP. And if you go to, actually, I'd like you all to go to the table 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it's page 7.
Maybe you didn't print
Is
it.
an alternate on here.
Oh, that's what, Letty's saying that because she got one that didn't have it in it.
No, it has almost.
It just didn't have this table. Oh, mine had this
Yeah.
table in it.
And I'm not on this.
I have one.
Yeah, that is.
Yours has,
Here,
yours
you
has
can look at
Mine
mine.
has a table.
I'm just gonna look it up.
So do people have
Do you
this
want
table?
to?
Yes, I do. I
Are we
mean,
want to, Mark, see if one of the copies that make.
Before we get to
Doesn't
that,
matter.
can I just mention 2 other things? Like, I'm not listed as an alternate, and on the first page,
It's a
page 2,
separate-
the budget committee is not appointed by select board, they're elected.
Oh, that's a
That's a big.
That's a big, yeah, that's a big
Yeah,
one.
that is a good one.
I'm happy to make that change. And I'm happy to make, the motion could be as amended by comments submitted by Wednesday of next week. say.
No.
But honestly,
But I don't know what people's comments.
Oh, I
well,
have
if they had things like that.
Yeah.
That it should be elected, not appointed. If I just can go through this spreadsheet quickly so that you can see that it doesn't change a lot, but there are significant changes. I want to make the point. From the planning board's perspective, we do have to adopt this. We don't give a crap what's in this. It does not affect this board.
It's, yeah, I mean,
This is an advisory document to the select board and the budget committee.
But it is an important document.
It is very important.
yeah, and I
In
think that,
order to properly replace the money from impact fees.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
to actually, yes,
to spend it,
no, to collect them.
to collect,
You
yeah.
have- You have to have a CIP to collect impact fees.
Right. No, but I think whatever we vote on should be as accurate, and we should be knowledgeable about it, knowing that we don't make the decisions about
Correct.
how the money is spent. But I think last year there were some things, I remember answering a question from somebody, and I said, oh, well, we just spread it out or something. I don't know. It was like some assumption was made, and there was a lot of pushbacks, like, well, why did you do that, and how is it? So I just want to make sure it still reflects on us, so.
It does.
We care.
Okay. I
I
would,
care.
I would hope that your response would be, it's
Go-
it's an advisory
Advisory,
document
yeah.
that is a goal for providing information to the budget committee and the board
And it's based on what was submitted
by department head.
by department heads.
Correct.
To the planning board via you, and then
Correct.
you put that in here.
Who makes the recommendation that the highway, because I know Letty and I are both adamant about this, of impact fees being able to be collected for highway?
That will have to be a town vote.
That's a town vote.
No.
No?
No.
Well, we will have to change our ordinance. We will
To
have
collect impact fees for the highway
Yes,
department?
Because we say what we collect them for in our ordinance.
Okay,
I mean, first, we have to
figure out what
change,
they would.
change our methodology. But it would, in the end, require town meeting vote before we can do it.
That's fine.
So how do we, is that a planning board thing, or is
It
that
is. It
somebody
is.
else?
Yep, nope, that's a planning
But
board
it's
thing.
not something we're gonna decide tonight.
No, but,
Oh, God, no.
no,
So-
but I'm just
Actually,
putting,
did you talk to the other Mr. Kennedy? Have you talked to the other Mr. Kennedy? Yeah, the guy, yeah.
Do you want me to talk to him?
I don't know.
I'm going back to work on Monday.
thought we decided that at the last meeting.
I wasn't sure how we left things. I meant to ask you, like, am I supposed to talk to him or not?
A board member, please make a motion to,
what's the, I'm all confused.
for
No,
that
we
to
need
happen?
Because I just
We
said,
don't.
let's just go with Marty if he does that. Because he's a
What?
genius.
Yeah.
Someone,
Wait a minute, I'm all
I don't,
confused.
yeah, let's time out a
Thi-
second here.
This
We-
is actually
we don't
doing
need
an
a-
update to our impact fee methodology.
gonna write it down.
And because we need to find someone new because the person who's done it
Yes.
for us.
That? Just
I don't
talk
even
to
think-
him?
I don't-
We
I
need a
think we-
motion for her.
Couple
I
years
would like to make a motion that we just.
I'm just
You're
putting it
right
back
here.
out there. There's gotta
I
be
think
somebody.
we're both-
There-
and
there is
just
someone that
ask
Steph
if
works
he
with.
does that kind of work, because I don't know.
Let's start there.
So-
Okay.
And
I
then
don't-
we would
I thought
want,
We could
I don't
go
think
through
that's a
official
motion. I think that's a
opinion.
conversation.
yeah, that's a conversation, and where does the money come from to pay him to do that? Should that be in our
Us.
budget?
That would come out of our budget.
And it is not in our budget.
So what?
That would be how it would, is that
How
how,
do you
what we've
usually
used in
pay
the
for
past?
Mr. Mayberry?
We usually talk with him, get an estimate, put it in the budget, go forward.
But we have that 8,500, right, that we didn't spend.
I mean, we're not planning on doing any chapters next year, given where we are right now. I think
Right,
we
and-
have,
And that we're gonna be
so
involved
we
with the
could use,
grant program.
But you also have other money that's more than that 8,500 in your budget that is not gonna be spent by the end of the year.
oh, so you're saying sign a contract this year to
No,
encumber that money?
we could, but that
do
wasn't what I meant.
She was just saying it's there.
It's that I wouldn't worry about which line, like, your budget is healthy.
Okay. Do you remember approximately how much it's cost in the past?
I think that the last one cost about $7,000.
Perfect, 8,500.
Okay, so.
No, I'm just concerned because we're having these roads being built right now, right? That we probably can't get the impact fees because it's too far for those developments.
Yeah.
But,
Mhm.
you know, after 3 years or whatever, the town's supposed to, expected to take them over, and they've gotten zero impact fees from any of those developments. I don't know how they were forgotten way back when.
What about all the people who drive on those roads now and impact them, and who have impacted them for over
Well, I know,
100 years
well,
driving on them?
Well, I know, and
We
before
just used
Chris
tax-
Magnuson, yeah.
We just use taxation to repave the roads. So charging someone an impact fee on a road that everybody drives on, it's,
Well, everybody pays for the school and they don't have all kids have.
I think she's talking about the new roads that the
New
town's
roads,
taking
new
over.
developments.
right.
But that, it is,
road, open to the public.
Well, they're not public roads to start with.
it's, we can't go back.
No, I
That's
know.
part of it.
Yeah.
I know that this is an important issue. I don't feel a huge sense of urgency at the moment because we've had a number of developments with roads that are done deals. So you'll talk to him, find out if this is something he does, if he could give us an estimate. We'll get that hopefully soonish so we can decide if we wanted to get something under contract this year to encumber funds or use the $8,500 but the idea is we want to do this in 2025.
And you can, I mean, if, I'm happy to talk to him if he wants information or something.
Yeah, I can
happy to do that.
direct him to you if he does do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
And if he doesn't, if he knows somebody who
Yeah,
does,
I'll,
because
I'll
we
follow up
don't know.
if he doesn't.
Didn't mean to shut down the motion, but I feel like there's a lot of little stuff we don't necessarily need to vote on if
Right.
we're not making major decisions. Okay, so table one.
Table one, for instance, no changes to town administration. It's the exact same as last year.
Okay.
And no changes in cemetery, exact same as last year. And no changes in fire department, exact same projects.
Well, they took out, wasn't there $1 million?
They purchased something from last year that got removed, but these projects were on last year's.
Okay.
So every department had communicated with you?
Yes, yeah.
They were all given the same opportunity.
Yep. Now, highway department did change. They purchased one vehicle that left the program, but they added three. That first excavator, that loader, and the six-wheel dump truck at the bottom, those are all new projects. As is the insulate the new garage.
Just for clarification, they're not new projects, they're just newly recorded on this
On
document.
the CIP,
It is
yes.
something that we were aware of, just hadn't
And-
made it last year.
And these are replacements of existing equipment that is aging out of the
Yes,
highway
I
department.
went on that walk. I'm well
Yeah.
aware of
And-
these.
Yes.
And I
They're
know this
old.
was an issue last year. The department heads were pressed on having current estimates.
He provided estimates in 2024 for each of these.
So in the highway department, why don't they have heat in that building?
This is a new building.
I know.
Well, I think
And
they
they're gonna
have heat,
insulate
they
it.
just haven't, it just isn't insulated.
No, they have no heat.
There's no heat in the shed, in the parking garage part, the building part where the offices and the bathrooms are does have heat.
Yep. Sorry, you can do
It was an oversight when the building was originally planned because the intent of parking the vehicles inside is that then they wouldn't freeze. But if the building isn't insulated, then they will freeze because it's gonna be the same temperature as outside.
Because it's also open at the top, like between the roof and I guess they have to because of the fumes or something.
It would be.
So what you're
All right.
saying, it's a screw up.
Sort of.
It was an oversight.
All right.
The
To
planning
save money.
process. To be fair, this building was also kind of broken out into different steps in order to
Pay for it.
pay for it because everything got really expensive because of COVID. So I think it was just an oversight. These things happen.
Do we have a cleaning crew that cleans buildings?
I don't know, but I'm gonna try to stick to table one.
And there is, but that's
Okay,
that's not a capital expense, so it would never come here.
Okay.
Into the weeds.
I
Yes,
know.
into the
I'm
weeds.
sorry, I'm going into the weeds.
For the Mary E. Bartlett Memorial Library, the first three are carryovers from last year.
Hmm.
But the fourth one is a new project where they would like to have a full building generator installed so that they can, so the building is functional during any power outages. But also they'd like to be considered a cooling, warming area in emergencies.
I only see 3 total items under.
Oh,
underneath
2028 is
that.
80,000 for an elevator. I hope you
Okay.
don't have to wait that long.
Gotcha.
It's way out on 2028.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
fair
too
enough.
far out too.
Historical Society, 3 of the projects are from last year. The only new one is the first one, that's structural improvements to the Grange. And that's a series of changes at the building. They need to replace some foundation beams that have been infested. And he used the word infested, so I'm assuming maybe carpenter ants have gotten into them or something. Want to do some sill work and some foundation work. That's what that project is. And the projects are described in the project narrative. But that's the only change to the Historical Society. No change to the open space. Under Police Department, the biggest change in the whole thing. Last year, the proposed new municipal center was estimated to cost $4 million.
Can I say something about that really quickly?
You may.
That was an estimate not based on any research or
Well, that's not
action.
true.
That was pre-multi-purpose building.
No.
That's not true. It did rely heavily on a report pre
Yeah,
it
it
being
was 3.4.
more than the fire department. I'm sorry, more than the police department. And it was from several years ago. It
Yes,
was
I guess
old-
it was
an
not, it was
old-
not an up-to-date.
Right. And considering how building costs
Yes.
changed from when that original report had been done to what today's reality is,
So.
it was very
Eye-opening.
So on
Yeah, no,
that,
20
on
to 28
that,
million.
yeah, on that note, so there is a updated,
I've heard.
based on price per square
I've
foot.
heard.
So we're not, this is a fine placeholder.
Exactly. That's all this is a placeholder at 10 million, because that new study said 28 million.
24 to
Yeah.
28
That-
million.
We're not,
That's-
I heard
that's,
14.
that was a
No.
very,
Kind of run all over the place.
that was a very.
So this is simply, a placeholder at a project at $10 million. And those prices you see are the municipal bond bank for New Hampshire gives you schedules. I asked for schedules for 15, 20, 25, and 30 years for this project. What's reflected here is the 20-year schedule of payments. Yeah,
We should
20
go to
years.
30.
Yeah.
I think we should
So
go 30.
Would that
if you go-
actually
if you go
happen in-
30, it would draw these years.
Would that actually start in 2025, though?
It will start whatever year the project is approved.
It's a high priority. That's why it's included. It was the number 1 priority, and that's why it's in the year 2025. But I think we would have heard a lot more about it by now if it was really going to be on
Actually
the
gonna-
warrant.
Yeah. Gotcha.
We-
Yeah.
Well, I think there's some other
I don't want to get
factors.
too far into the weeds. Can we move on to the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
slide?
so literally, that is why that number is really changed. The Recreation Commission, all of these except the construct irrigation system for the lower playing fields are projects held over from last year.
Okay. So do you know what the line was last year, the total needed to be raised by taxation?
For each year,
What it was?
it's not drastic, none of them went over 2 million, and none of these go over 2 million. So they're all 1 million and change last year as well.
Okay, so even though there's a major change in one area overall,
It's,
it didn't change that much?
it did not, no,
How is that? What,
Other things
Yeah.
must have come off.
because things came off.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, the police vehicle, the fire vehicle came off. But I had a question about, maybe you just said this when we were chatting over here. Install athletic field lighting for $440,000?
Well, you notice that's out in an out year, because that's a bold
That's a ridiculous.
guesstimate.
And a press tower for like TV.
So I think the rec department,
Come on.
more than any other
Effort.
department, took the the concept of tell us everything that you might want to build at some point very seriously.
And the response to their charrette.
Right, because we don't have anything for past 2030. So if they're like, this is something we want to do in 20 years, we don't have any way to
Right,
support that.
and they last year had a major project in to do bathrooms at $80,000, which they pulled off because there's talk of maybe something else happening at the site.
So,
Which
so
is
the
not on
only,
this
Which
plan.
is not on this.
so I don't know what to do with that, but the only other thing I would say back to the rec department, and I know we talked about this quite a bit last year, is a lot of what they were proposing, they said they could make up with revenue, but that's not reflected here. So in other words,
That's not accurate.
that's what they talked about, that they could do more rentals. So if you have lights, you can rent at night.
Oh, yes.
So where's
Not with current revenue.
where's the offset?
I see.
Because you know, you see numbers and it just looks like a cost, but my understanding was everything that they were talking about doing would also generate revenue.
Right, but until we're at a place where we actually see that revenue generated.
But I mean, you could note it somewhere.
Yeah, pickleball revenue.
Well, the pickleball courts they broke ground on them today. That was a project that was on last year that is no longer on.
That's at the rec center?
Yeah,
At the rec center, yeah.
people love pickleball.
Oh, I know. Oh, it's crazy.
Okay,
People love pickleball.
so our job is to
Why? Distance.
collect through Glenn. Glenn, collected data from all the departments. This is their best starting point, first estimate for what they project spending to be for the next several years.
Correct.
The bottom line is not terribly different. A lot of what's in here is the same as what was in there last year. By adopting this, we're not endorsing anything. These things are all still subject to town
Review.
I was just gonna say,
Correct.
it's their wishes and dreams. There's no guarantee that any of these things are gonna
Right.
happen. Okay.
But our job is to give a starting point that's as accurate as can be at this point.
Of what the department heads
Estimation
think their needs are over the next 6 years.
And the concerns in the past have been people just forgetting things and not including them. And so we're doing a better job this year of making sure people are,
Adding everything
at
in
least
that
to
they-
start, knowing it's gonna
That's
change.
right.
Okay.
That's right.
So before we go back to that, I have one question on, so it says, the planning board determined that a capital improvement is to be defined as a major, generally non-occurring expense of $10,000 or more. Has that been at 10,000 for years or?
Forever. And actually, last year, the CIP committee talked about whether that was a good number to stay with.
Yeah,
And there was, I thought, genuine interest in increasing it, but we never did. We never did. Several department heads submitted me projects that didn't meet the $10,000 threshold. And so I thanked them for that information and told them, don't expect to see it on the CIP because it doesn't hit the threshold.
right.
I'm sorry, where are you? Which page?
Page 3,
Page 3?
where it says, for the purpose of this document, the board determined a capital
Okay, yep.
improvement, and then there's a definition there.
And that literally, I think that figure was probably established when we authorized it in 1987.
So, question to the board, should we be dealing with stuff that's $10,000, or should we say that a capital improvement?
Well, a good thing, what is the
I mean, it's nice to
threshold-
have all this stuff on here.
What is the
but-
threshold typically for the Board of Selectmen to require a project to go to warrant article? Is it $5,000?
I don't know off the top of my head if there is an actual rule about that.
There's lots of excuse me, lots of towns do have one.
Yeah, I think it's 5, but it might have been raised to 10.
I do not have that information off the top of my head, so I don't wanna misspeak. We
Yeah.
could also use, if there is a threshold written down somewhere for when an RFP is required, that would be another good kind of tying all those things together, but I don't know.
So there's only 2 things on here. There's 2 at 10, 1 at 12. So we can set this aside, but maybe that's a question for the budget committee is would they like to see?
I think I think it would be more a question for the select board, if it's
Right.
helpful to see those smaller projects so that we
Mhm.
can plan for them.
Yeah.
Or
And
if they're small enough,
Fill them in places.
if small enough, then it's not as much of a concern.
Because often, not often, but I've seen a couple of towns that use a $25,000 reserve. That eliminates a lot of these projects.
Yeah.
But
to
that means
me-
that they would just sneak up on us.
Exactly, that
Yeah,
to me
Don't want
seems,
that.
when I look at the time that $10,000 has been used, it seems like such a long time. It's almost 40 years
Yeah.
that we've used $10,000. Right, it's not the same number. But it does reflect projects that have some element of weight to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right, I agree.
You know,
Yeah,
if you look at the historical society, 2 of theirs are 10 and 15.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
They seem low to me. I don't know the size of the parking lot for 10,000.
It's about the size of this room.
It's
it's
not a
teeny,
big
yeah.
parking lot at all. Yeah, it's a really,
Just a
really
mud pile.
tiny parking lot.
Yeah.
All right. So we can set that aside. You spelled
Also,
my name
you said
wrong,
something
but
about, Kristen, you said something about the 10 and 10 and 12 or something like that? I do think the numbers should be the same, whatever the, 10 or 15,000, whatever. I don't think or them all should be 12, or I don't know why there's different.
Yeah, I just,
amounts.
I, like I said, I don't know what the
It's
number is, and so I don't wanna,
I just meant, like, we
don't
don't
wanna-
need to have
yeah,
a
I
big
don't wanna say
discussion
anything
about
that's
it
not
tonight, 'cause
true.
It wouldn't make that much of a difference, but it's
Okay.
something we could talk about, the select board can talk about.
Right, from a policy standpoint.
is that something that this board would like me to bring up at the next select board meeting?
Yes. Would the select board like to see
Some
that number
uniform-
change?
Yeah,
Uniform for CIP inclusion, warrant article inclusion, and RFPs. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And it's possible that there is one, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I've only been on the select board for 6 months.
seems like one.
Oh, doesn't it though? Oh.
It seems like.
Yeah, because then you'd also want to know what happens to it when a $10,000 project does come through. And
Yeah.
if we have
Yeah.
a $20,000
That means I
minimum.
spelled your name wrong.
I don't know. That's just to me. It's
Yeah.
To look at the initial intent of why.
Why didn't you
the
tell me
CIP
last
was there.
time?
Sure.
It was for big
Maybe
ticket
I
items,
didn't.
you know, like, if you think about 30 years ago, what 10,000 was, you know?
No, you're right.
And it was supposed
You're
to- the impact fees
definitely
was supposed
right.
to alleviate those big ticket items. And I think that was the intent or the spirit of it.
So, the Energy Committee has had some audits done and is planning on doing some more, but doesn't have any projects yet. But just to know that there may be some recommendations in the future, which would go to the select board, but to change light bulbs or something like that. But nothing to include now, but.
We may want to consider the fact that when we set up a capital reserve for the master plan, that we don't keep it at 8,500, but we push it to 10,000, because then it would show up on the CIP.
And that number probably also hasn't
So do you use the
changed.
impact fees for that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, other.
so you're not comfortable with,
I mean, now
doing
that you've
motion to
explained it
adopt.
all and see, that it hasn't, a lot of things are the same.
exactly the same.
And with the caveats of this is not endorsing any spending or anything like that.
I think, as your select board representative, we're scheduled to start hearing budgets next week. So if we could have even just a we could have any version of this document before we start looking, that would be helpful.
Sure. So thoughts on voting on it tonight versus taking it home and reading it in more detail?
I'm fine.
I didn't hear what you said.
Your motion would be
I'll make a motion to vote on it tonight,
to approve
To-
this.
to
Oh,
approve
CIP.
the CIP this evening, adopt, approve, whatever,
With the caveat,
with the
That-
caveat.
With the minor corrections in spelling and or
and text
text.
provided by board members.
You got all that?
It just seems a little odd, to be honest.
Why?
Because you're approving something that I'm just blanketly saying with minor correction.
That's what we do for the minutes.
Okay, if that's what you wanna do.
I mean,
just
isn't that
feel
what we-
odd.
Isn't that what we do
Okay,
for the
so,
minutes?
so the,
Just-
so the issue would be if somebody gets home, reads the whole thing and says, whoa, this section doesn't make sense. I guess I'm
You can always reconsider your vote.
not too concerned about it because it seems like a lot of it's boilerplate and provided by the departments. But I will respect the board's general consensus on whether or not to vote tonight.
I guess, so, what I'm a little bit confused about, so if we're not voting whether or not to endorse the actual line items, what are we really voting on?
The process of bringing the projects to the budget committee and select board.
Okay.
I would say you are voting to say that these are the things that the department heads provided to Glenn in a table.
Yeah, we're voting that we believe Glenn when he says he received this
These
information.
are what the
So-
department
so-
heads
No,
should
we're not-
ask.
we don't-
And these
So-
are accurate figures.
So I'm not saying this to be a wise guy, but so we're voting to acknowledge the existence of this document?
Yes.
And it's our responsibility to collect the data and put it in
Okay.
this format. But we're not saying, we're saying the departments want to do this. We're not saying we agree that the department should do this. We're just saying, this is what we collected this data. This is what the departments want to spend. Now,
And now it's going to go to
now
the
it
two
goes-
boards that actually make the decisions,
and I missed something.
the budget committee. and-
Are you speaking
Okay.
as the land use administrative assistant, or are you?
Administrative assistant. I would recommend that the motion be to move this document forward to the select board
Yeah.
and the budget committee.
Yes.
That's absolutely
That
fine.
is the motion.
That's absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
that is perfect.
That's the motion that's that made.
I will second that.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
That's
absolutely
I
exactly
mean,
what
but
everybody.
it says
We already
prepared
said
by.
that.
I mean, it's our.
But it is. It is
Exactly what
prepared
was
by.
Prepared by. So, we did not come up with the projects.
Not
We
approving.
compiled.
We're moving forward, moving it forward.
You could also say prepared by Glenn Greenwood,
I could,
or the Brentwood Glen.
But it really wasn't. You know, he
we
got
could
a-
absolutely say that.
He got
I mean,
the numbers.
it drives me crazy to see my name on it, but yes, by all means, we could say that.
Prepared by the town planner.
But it could be prepared by the planning board for the for the select board and budget committee. It
Yeah.
could actually say that on the
Okay.
front page.
To
whatever.
move this document forward for the consideration of the selectmen and budget.
The select
That's enough.
board.
I would love to
enough,
also
yeah.
read it if that's okay.
You what?
You said selectmen.
Who's making that motion?
Select people.
Yes.
Board.
Is there anybody who doesn't want to vote tonight and would like time with it? Because the select board has a draft copy and is going to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it doesn't like.
so we can take it home and read it, if you'd like.
I mean, I'll second it. Do you need a second? I would love to second it.
You already seconded it.
Or
I don't.
I
did.
I'm
fine.
not sure what all of my
We'll let you
powers
know.
are, but I believe I have the power to not call for a vote. if there's a sentiment against
No,
this.
I don't.
All in favor?
We can override her.
No, see, that's the power that I have.
Exactly.
If someone, no, I want to make, you have the power to null and void someone's motion?
Well, I'm not null and voiding the votes, I'm just not bringing the vote, just like you don't bring a vote to the floor.
So if someone made a motion,
I-
and someone
Can we
seconded.
just-
Oh, we're getting in the weeds again.
I know.
Just read the motion.
Yeah, but I think she does have that power to say,
He
you know,
just
no,
read
we're
it.
tabling that.
Then we have the then
I don't.
and we're getting in the weeds again.
To move this document forward for consideration of the select board
Yes, thank
and budget committee.
you.
Perfect.
Steph? And Letty second.
Doesn't matter.
Ned really did second it first.
Scratching Letty?
It's a different,
Hmm.
it's a different vote.
Okay, Ned
Please
seconded.
do. It's fine.
All in favor?
No, see, you don't,
I,
you don't call the
No,
vote.
You do.
Doug, did you, I feel like we didn't finish the conversation. Are you,
I'm just
you're
very,
uneasy
I'm just very puzzled,
about the
by-
process?
about the
whole
process, yeah,
It is
it-
an odd process. It's a statutory requirement that the planning board, that was bestowed upon the planning board, but it's
With no real reason.
not super logical.
That's
but-
true, yeah, no real reason.
So if that's your,
no reason.
if that's your hangup, then we can go ahead and vote. But if you really like wanna, time to,
There's gotta be better ways.
Decision maker.
Yeah.
We're just
yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I can
Assembling a
respect
package.
that, what Doug's saying for sure, you know,
The
I do,
compiler.
Yeah.
I do get it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm fine voting. I'll be a no vote only because
fine.
I just am very, very puzzled by this whole thing.
The whole process, yeah. And we took a more active role last year.
I think that's part of
And-
my discomfort is that, yeah, so.
I think in the past, it was kind of a passive process, and last year, everybody, I think, was pushing harder for the departments to be more accurate.
And they're getting real numbers is better this year than last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly comfortable because I feel like Glenn has signed off on it, you know,
And they-
and
well,
the
they-
department heads have signed off and.
And you,
Push
I
it
mean,
forward to
there are written quotes for all of the big items.
Yeah,
It's an advisory document.
yeah.
It doesn't really carry weight unless the people reading it and do the budgets who really sit down and crunch numbers, then it has weight.
Well, they'll go, yeah, they'll consider each
Okay,
and
so
every
can
one
we
of
move
these
on?
items
We got another?
separately. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye,
Nay.
nay, aye, no, opposed, two. please.
Can I just, are you, is it a process issue or is it the
It's
content?
Both.
For me, it's a process issue.
Process, yeah, I get it.
Doesn't matter, he passed, so.
I like to have as much agreement as we can, but I also know that it's part of a bigger process. Okay, microphones.
Podium?
Podium.
One emergency at a time, sir. So I talked to Josh Berlin about microphones, and we came up with a plan of 3 of these stationary ones, and the 4th one being a stand-up mic on a stand.
Instead of the table.
So the way this works is we can have up to 10 of these microphones on, the sit-down ones. The stand-up one can be on all the time as well as an 11. So we can have 11 on at all times. If you want to speak, all you need to do is make sure your microphone is lit up red. And if you want to say something and your mic isn't on, you just need to push the button. So you can have 10 of the sit-downs on at all times. So if you added 3 more to the system, right, that'd be 9. So you'd have 2 mics that you would have to sit there and you'd kind of monitor yourself. One of them would probably be my microphone. I just leave it off all the time and leave all yours on. Whoever's next to me would have to shut their mic off and I could turn mine on and speak and then turn mine off. You know what I mean? As long as you're paying attention to the ones that are on those extra two, you're gonna be fine. If I just push the button to talk without someone turning theirs off, somebody randomly, or not, you can probably figure out the chart, but they will get muted. Their mic will go dim. It's
So
just,
1, 2 for Glenn over there. Where's the third one?
we could decide that.
Do we need it?
We can talk about that.
The-
If you want to come back over here, then yes. Be one here, 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 there, stand up. That's the way I envisioned it.
Yeah.
Because when we do have a full board and everybody shows up, there's not enough room. And I know Glenn would like to go back over there in the worst way.
No.
So he could have one and that'd be off. We'd probably turn that off and that off. There's a way to work it. It's the same microphone system as the UN uses.
We can,
They have 100 mics and only 10 of them are on at the same time.
yeah, we can figure out how to turn them on and off. That-
But-
people should be able to do that.
The budget I was given was $2,300. The quote came to 23, like 44.
Did you ask him for a discount? You say my budget's only 2,300. Letty's like,
So
I did-
are
I
you
did not
asking for
beg.
3 more or 2 more? I'm confused.
He's asking for $50.
I'm asking
No,
for
I know,
$50.
but I mean of actual microphones.
Be 3 of them. 3 more of these particular units that you are talking into right now. And then you will have a microphone on a stand. I do not, if an applicant is sitting there, I don't want to have to ask the applicant to get up out of his chair so someone can publicly speak. I think it's kind of rude.
kind of what we did tonight.
Right,
Like what happened with your husband earlier.
right. I think that's rude to an applicant. Or if an applicant wants to stand at a plan, he can use a stand-up mic. He can hold that mic, and then the public can speak at the table.
Doug.
I'll make a motion to bump up the budget to $2,350.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same?
We can just
don't
all
care.
kick in $5 if you.
I don't think we need so many. That's okay. I'll just abstain.
Thank you very much.
You got that? Liz abstained. That's all that's on the written agenda. Was there anything else?
Yes. Did you miss me? I had one more thing. So at the New Hampshire Municipal Association Annual Conference at the end of the month, they have a session entitled "How Can Your Community Become More Housing Friendly?" And I didn't know if anyone was interested in going to that.
Where is it?
It's in Manchester at the New Hampshire Municipal Association Annual Conference. There's
What day of the week?
Tuesday, Wednesday.
I don't, hold on, it's 2 days, I don't know which day this is on. Yes.
I'm probably going for work.
Okay.
So I can try to attend that session. If
I just
possible.
didn't know if it was even on your radar, considering
It's October what? October?
the conference is the 30th and 31st, but I don't know which day this particular talk is. But you can also look on the New Hampshire nhmunicipal.org.
Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in going, but I would have to just
Yeah.
I'm kind
See
of
if I
the same
could
boat,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to nhmunicipal.org and you can just go to events, and I think the annual conference is there, and it gives you a list of all of the topics. Yeah.
Is there a cost?
There is a cost.
Probably not to you.
town, yes.
As a volunteer?
What?
As a town official.
You don't have to pay for it.
You're saying the town.
Yeah. right? It's a training, it's like the snow, green snow thing that we're doing. Same kind of thing.
Good.
Hey.
Oh,
Mr. Stevens.
alternate.
That's it, that was all,
Thank you.
I think, I don't know.
I had a quick question. I know it's getting late. I know you've started using like SharePoint and sending documents that way. I don't know if you guys might have talked about this at one of the ones I missed, so if you did, I apologize. But is there like a link to access all the files, or do we have to access them through the email, the links in the emails?
I would prefer, instead of having 10 people within my files, I'm learning and discovering how to send files and limit the access to those files of who can change things, me approving changes. So I'm experimenting in that realm.
Okay.
I think it's really nice to have an agenda that we all can look at it and go, oh, I wanted to talk about this. Drop it right in there, and now it's a topic that we all can talk about. Because sometimes we think about things we want to talk about, but we never remember them, or we forget. And just keep things timely and effective. It's something that we
Put a note in the column right there.
right,
Yeah.
right. So it's something we all can look at and participate in. Now, the first one that I sent you, you could just immediately change it. The second one I sent, I need to approve your change, so I can look at the document and I can go, okay,
You're the editor.
and then click it and say that's topical or.
If there's
Well-
if there's a bigger thing though, like for the housing grant, he gave me access to a folder with a bunch of stuff in it, and then I was able to.
If you log into your Office 365 and go to your OneDrive,
We don't have OneDrive.
That's what I was trying to find. If
You
there's
don't-
OneDrive.
all right, you don't have a cloud on the side of your thing that shows the things that have been shared with
Our
you?
accounts only give us access to Outlook, and then if somebody sends us a file, we can look at it, but I can't make my own folder,
No,
my
no.
own OneDrive.
So, and this is
But you did change the folders.
I can see, like, if he shares something with me,
Yes.
I have access to it, but I don't have like,
right, I
I
guess what
tried
I'm,
to start my own.
no, but I was wondering if you can still see all of the things that have been shared with you, even if you can't create your own.
I can't, yeah, there's like a my content and there's a list of all the files, but
Okay.
I was just wondering, is it possible for us to have like a shared planning board on OneDrive or SharePoint somewhere in the cloud where it's like applications, PD, I don't know, just because right now looking in this, it's a very long list, and like for this meeting, I was trying to find the files we're looking at today and here, and some of them that were in the packet weren't sent to us, which maybe you only got them today or something.
The only things I believe that I didn't send to you were the TEC comments. I never received that plan that we looked at this evening electronically. It was just a previous plan. I did call the applicant to make sure that he made the changes that Glenn gave to him, and I was a little shocked that he said that he never got them when we talked to him on the phone about them. It was a little odd. So I didn't have an updated plan to give you. I only had the old plan. And the TEC comments I got a day before. I think I got them the first.
Yeah.
So what you're asking for is basically you have a link that says planning board files, and you click on it, and then there's a folder for MTI PolyX, and there's a folder for like all of the different things that we're working
yeah,
on.
I was just wondering if that's like way too much work,
I mean,
then.
I email all those things too.
Because if you're saving them anyway, like, if we can have access to where you save them, not necessarily to change them, but just to find them.
Is it possible to share a whole folder?
It is,
It
but I'm
is.
very hesitant to do that.
Why?
Because then everybody can change the information that I have in my folder.
You can make it view only.
That's something I'm experimenting with.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever.
I'm experimenting.
Yeah, you're still.
You can
figuring
share
out.
it without, and people being editors.
That I guess that's.
But
also
that's-
I went
something
in
that
and-
I'm
I
interested
went in and
that.
rearranged
A
everything.
lot of that information that I put in these folders is crucial for me to print out and put into folders so that we have a physical copy of it. And then I have an electronic copy of it. So when people come and ask me questions, and somebody deleted a document out of there, I had already deleted their email. I
Yeah.
didn't know where that document went.
You shouldn't.
No, we don't want to change anything. I think,
What?
I only delete ones that I know that I don't need.
You don't.
But they
We'll
never really
talk
go
about this.
away.
Well,
They
there-
go into delete.
there's-
We'll talk about this
there.
I think it's very hard, though, to come to a meeting and see
Sidebar.
like 5 different things that you haven't seen before at the meeting. That's
Yeah,
just
I like
tough.
to look at them in advance if I can. Like if, I mean, like you said, if you
But that's
only
really
You don't
on
get
us to get the information.
No, but if he
too.
doesn't have, I mean, he can't help it if he doesn't have it, yeah. But I don't think we're asking to change anything. I agree. I don't think anybody should change anything.
Yeah, just view only.
You
I'm
only,
very diligent about the information that comes into my office and disseminating that. to
yeah,
the board.
yeah.
And it might seem sporadic, because I don't wanna forget to send it to you. So as soon as I get it, I might quickly review it, boom. send it out to all
No,
of you.
you've been
It
great
may
at
just be
sending
me
stuff.
too. I got like about 4, at least 3 of the ones that said, here are the zoning changes. Why would I have gotten that so many times? Okay,
So, and I know
the zoning.
we want to, for next meeting, for zoning. So in the future, you know, like as you, I understand you're learning the system and experimenting with things, but what might work down the line is when we get the agenda, there's a link. So everything for this applicant would be in a folder, and you would put the link to the folder next to this. And then
Some of it's too
minutes,
big.
just here's a file. Well, it would just be a link to the folder.
Yeah, if it's too big
On
to email, if
here.
you save it in this OneDrive or cloud location and we all have access to that folder, you don't have to email it.
Yeah,
and we
you
can
would just give us
access
the
it.
link to the folder and we could go in and read it ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah, read only,
Read only
yeah,
needs
that's
that
it,
something.
exactly right.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Experiment.
Yeah,
Experiment.
I'd be happy to do like a test run with fake files or whatever
Mhm.
and tell you if I can edit them or whatever to practice.
I'm just figuring out how to send things. You edit them, and I approve
control
them,
my face.
Yeah.
just 'cause there's 2 ways that I can send stuff.
Mhm.
I could do it through OneDrive, or I could copy. That's why you see maybe 2 different links, you know, the one that's just a line, that's the OneDrive one. But if it's a square block, with a copy in it, that's me making a copy of that.
It's attached.
It's attached to it, yes.
I mean, eventually, the next step would be to make things more publicly available so that for, you know, for this evening, if you'd like to see the drawings, those would be, there'd be a link on the website, but I don't want to. Yeah. You don't want to keep it on your personal OneDrive eventually.
That's why this hard copy.
We're getting in the weeds again. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Anything else?
Oh,
favor.
actually,
Oh.
sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. Well, he's here now.
Let the record show that Letty stopped
Yep.
us from voting.
Excuse
to
me,
adjourn.
person who came in late, where is our podium?
Where is our podium?
Being worked on right now.
Can you use the microphone, Bruce?
He has to
Thank you.
sign in
I'm
too
sorry.
because he's not actually on the board.
He is,
You gotta push the button.
he is officially speaking about something that's important.
It's true.
So, yeah.
Can I have a rule?
So he's gonna sit down, this is gonna be a
Rule applies.
It's a long story. But no, I hope to have something, yeah, by next week, some drawings to be approved. And I am putting pressure on the guy. It's just that he's very good, but he's got a lot going on. But I told him we have to have at a kind of, well, I won't-
Yeah, I don't think we can roll it over another year. So,
Okay.
I mean, sure. Because Glenn would really like to go back to his corner.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of nice to have a table there though, too. We can get
We can have both.
Watch it there.
I'm getting you a table for
Glenn's
Christmas.
like, oh,
All right.
No, I'm like, don't take my table away.
All in favor of
Yes.
adjourning?
Who's the side?
Aye.
One-
Letty.
Yeah, sure. I second, and then I interrupted myself.
All right.
Aye.
Thanks, Bruce.
Everybody, let me.
There's a packet there for you, Bruce, so.
I'm not talking probably ever again. No worries.